Hello, Jamie from Inky&Scrappy sharing with you today my Such a Tool series featuring ink road stamps, Such a Tool stamp set, which yours truly drew the image on. So anyways, I'm starting with some Tim Holtz blackout cardstock here. It's a little bit bigger than a half sheet of paper. I'm just cutting it down to about the width that I'm going to need. And then of course I brought in the silver metallic paper as well because it's just, I don't know, tools tend to be that silver metallic color, or, you know, so stainless steel. So that's what I always think of when I do those types of cards. And then of course I brought in red, so I went with my color scheme of red and black is kind of where I was going with this one today. And then of course I needed just a flat panel. So cutting these all down to size. So I started, you know, my base piece, which is the black piece, is going to get cut down to 5.5 by 4 1/4. And then the silver piece was probably cut to 5 1/4 by 4. And then down from there. So, you know, just taking another 1/4 inch off of each one. Keeping with, you know, the proper sizing guides to an A2, I guess. So I ran that black piece through the die cut machine with Tim Holtz's, I want to say it's the Circut board one. And then I'm just bringing in a blending foam handle here that has sandpaper on it. I found sandpaper that has, you know, Velcro hook on the back, or, you know, Velcro on the back, so it works really well. To sand that way, it goes really fast. I tried to do some embossing. I wanted to just kind of hit the high points with silver on this one. I thought it would look cool. It didn't work, so ultimately I just kind of rubbed it off and, you know, went a different route. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay if things don't work the way you wanted it to work. So I just brought in, I think this one is Lost Shadow, and I'm just trying to hit the high point, so going pretty quick over the top. It also gives it kind of a fun distressed look. And then I just kind of buffed off the rest. I didn't want it to be overly stark and contrasty. And then I'm just going to start building my layers up for my cardstock base, or my card base. So putting that silver on and then the red. And if I could redo it, I probably would have added a little bit of distressing to that red piece. But, you know, it turned out fine. So I'm just kind of figuring out my layout on this one. I had seen a card for inspiration probably on Instagram or on Pinterest that kind of had some just texture stamping in the background for kind of like a base. And I was like, oh, that's kind of, you know, I haven't done it for forever at this point. And so I was like, that's really cool. So I pulled out my bucket of Tim Holtz stamp sets. I like collecting like the text ones, the Inventor style sets, just because I love that steampunky style, and you know, those things just, you know, make my heart happy, whatever. And so using the cogs, those types of things, but I didn't want to do, I wanted to kind of keep it in the center, not so much all the way onto the outside, kind of just drawing your eye into the center of the image. I also did not use a stamping block for any of this. I just kind of put them on there and then you press with your fingers. You get a little bit different ink distribution, so some spots are going to be darker, some spots are going to be lighter. I also love the look of second generation stamping with this one, especially if you're only going to go with one color. I tried to stick with one color for the most part for all of it, and then you will see me later bring in a little bit of black. I also love adding text to this. It just kind of brings, I don't know, I love text. It's totally my thing. I just love the look of it. And so I brought in some different text ones, trying to bring in a couple of different things that may be related to the stamp set. I could have definitely used some of the stamps that came with the Such a Tool stamp set, and just kind of, you know, guy things, tool things, those types of things are kind of what I added. Picking and choosing where I was going to put stuff, kind of getting the lines, you know, just visually, I just wanted it to look like a collage of images that maybe went with the image that I'm going to use on the top. So, you know, once I hated it, because that's usually how I go, I know I'm done with it when I'm like, I don't know what else to add. So, of course, I did come in and add some distressing to the edges. This is just, it's an old close to my heart tool. I know Tim Holtz has one with the tonic line. It's basically the edge of a scissors, right? It's just a little safer than the edge of a scissors because you just put it in the little hole there and it's, you know, nice and sharp down there, but not where your fingers are going to get it. I've done it both ways, and of course if you watch the Let's Start Stamping, I think it was 21 that I did it. This was the inspiration for that one, so you know, I did show that one with the scissors edge just because I try to use less tools on that one. So I did show how it works with the edge of your sharp scissors. It actually goes, I think, a little bit faster, and you get a little bit more, you have a little bit more, I don't want to say control, but you get a little bit rougher edge with the scissors than you do with that tool, in my opinion. You have a little more control with the other one, with the actual tool that's, you know, not going to cut your hand open, you know, whatever. So at this point, I'm kind of figuring out my layout, making sure that it's going to, you know, work how I want it to work. Of course, I'm bringing in that black cardstock again, and I'm just going to stamp this one on here with some VersaFine, no, some VersaMark ink. I could have used well, I guess I could have used VersaFine on this one. It wouldn't have mattered. I'm covering it with some silver embossing powder. So, of course, I did do my anti-static powder tool. I use Tailored Expressions sponge one. It doesn't get dust. I don't like the dust from it. And so this one just kind of like stays in that little sponge. You don't, I mean, you still get some dust on your card, but it's not like everywhere. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Okay? Okay. Alright, so I heat set that one, and then I'm going to bring in an oversized banner die. Just, you know, I didn't have it all set. You know how when the light hits it just right? You see that it's not, anyways. So I brought in, I think it's Lawn Fawn's simple banner die, just to cut out for my actual, I didn't want the flagged ends. I wanted to cut it down. I just wanted it to be straight. I have a hard time cutting things straight, so I use dies a lot. So just kind of getting it, I wanted it to be inside of the white. I didn't want it to be over the edge of the white. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just going to slowly cut each side until I get it, you know, the width that I want it. I didn't want to measure. I just wanted to, you know, I think I measured it down, but because I had distressed the edges, it wasn't exact, right? So I'm also going to distress the edge on that one, and then I'm just going to put this one down flat. But first I decided, you know what, it needed something else. So this is when I brought in my stamping block here and just added some of the smaller bolts from the Such a Tool stamp set. I liked the added black onto the red. It kind of broke it up just a little bit. You know, since my goal was to just put the stuff in the middle, and then it kind of got bigger than it was supposed to, because that's how I roll. Yeah. So at this point I was done, and I was like, well, I should do the inside, because these all got mailed out. Not all of them. I think this one I have left, and one other one I lost on my desk, and I found it. So I have 2 left to mail out. But I knew that they were getting all mailed out, so I did finish the insides. I, you know, added my sentiment, and then I just did a little bit of 2nd and 3rd generation stamping with the 2 different size nuts from the stamp set. And then, of course, just having to add on my card front onto my card base here, and it finishes it up. So the image I used for this one was the one that I had done with the VersaMark pen and that silver embossing powder. So the silver embossing on the sentiment goes with the silver embossing on the wrench, and I like how this one turned out. It's kind of fun. So for my other one, I didn't video record this one, but I kind of did the same thing, added in a second color, and then of course did some second and third generation stamps. You can see I used more of the stamp set on this one. Did some partial stamping of that one text sentiment, and then I added in some bolt heads onto the wrench for that one, as well as some embossing around the outside, just kind of taking the ink pad and kind of hitting it here and there, and then some bolt heads in the corner. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed these. I enjoyed creating them. It's definitely a technique I need to do a little bit more of because it's fun and fast. Thanks for tuning in and keep getting inky. Bye.